So then Siri, we saw it demonstrated here yesterday morning, and it caused a lot of buzz. It's already utilizing true knowledge to pull some of its conversational answers from. What were your thoughts on it? Anyone? Andrew, I know you had some thoughts on it. Share yours.
Well, so just to be sort of countercultural, maybe I'll throw this out for discussion. So I think the notion of getting much deeper in terms of assisting a user with some task is spot on, and we're gonna see more and more of that. If you had to kind of characterize search, maybe one of search's primary weakness over its history, it's that the paradigm is very much this stateless query response. So query comes in, you see the response, you go look at some of the results, you modify your query in some form. It's more or less true that the next query you enter is processed without any context. And as we get into these kind of assistant types of use cases, that would have to change, of course. Yahoo's rolling out more stateful search tools. I think other companies will be pursuing the same path. But to me, the big question is, we would expect people to come to tools like this through many venues, through PC or web or voice or what have you. But in terms of the back end and the query processing, would we expect that people would come to the same place to engage in these kinds of considered purchase or long-running assistance kinds of tasks as they would for navigational queries? And if I look at the kinds of things that people are doing in search and the unification of, let's say in Bing, for instance, a lot of vertical capabilities are integrated directly into the main search box, or at least starting to be. It's not clear to me whether that's going to be multiple interfaces for users, or whether the advantages of having one interface that you can go to that will be familiar to you, except now you're putting more burden on the engine to understand what your intent is, which one of these models is going to win out. So I think for sure there are going to be sort of virtual assistants in the future. I just don't know whether they'll be embedded into something like a search box or not.
Scott, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think, clearly conversation is the ultimate user interface, right? As we look at things like mobile search, it probably fits in really well there. It's not clear that I want to have a conversation with my laptop in the middle of my office during the workday. I think a lot of it depends on the tasks that we're trying to do. But certainly, an output as well, right? It's not just an input problem. How do you display the results? Do I have a conversation where the machine sort of tells me the 10 Chinese restaurants in my neighborhood, or do I see them on my little tiny screen? I think the issue of having a personal assistant has a lot to do with the kinds of tasks we're doing. I think Andrew's right that it's not clear that it's necessarily going to be embedded in the general search engine. Time will tell how these things play out. But I do think that there's a huge role for conversation and dialogue and refining search tasks and getting people to their answers sooner.
Well, maybe I just want to add, it may be, I mean, that's depending how, by the way, I wanted to congratulate Tom for a great presentation yesterday. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And the question is, what is the scope of Siri? Because, if you start looking, if you look at, like at the beginning, you look at the simple tasks, like a restaurant and tickets to event, travel, etc. I could see this being an agent which is kind of triggered maybe by search. Like if you're searching for that, suddenly a Siri agent shows up and says, well, I can help you in this. If you try to go too broad, then you become a search engine. I was asking, you effectively, not every question, but a lot of questions, like how to get rid of love handles there could be an agent, who deals with love handles, I mean, recommend various different treatments, etc. So if you go that broad, then you are a search engine. So.
I think one thing is for sure that when people have a conversational interface where they can actually speak, they won't speak in keywords.
Agreed. Agreed. So, excellent point. So then, just to wrap that up, back to Scott. There was, of course, Bing, which launched last week, 2 weeks ago, and created all manner of buzz. So why don't you tell us, Scott, a little bit about the larger goals for Bing as a search engine? I know that was my question as I looked at it and looked at all of these, the Faircast integration that you'd introduced and some of the shopping capabilities. One of my thoughts was, where are they going with this? So,
well, I think one of the big things about Bing is trying to simplify key tasks that people do when they come to a search engine. And so, travel, health, shop, these are areas where we see a lot of queries. We can understand something about the tasks that people are trying to do. And so we can optimize. We can improve the time to satisfaction. We can improve the presentation of results for those kinds of queries. It's also about categorizing the results. So rather than just giving people a set of 10 blue links, it's saying, based on your query, there's a number of different variations on that query or facets to that query that you may be interested in, sort of surfacing those in a way that makes it really easy for people to get to their final answer. So I think the thinking has evolved from just 10 blue links and ranking and relevance to the whole page composition. How do we present a really meaningful thing for the user? If I type a navigational query, I don't necessarily need 10 blue links because I'm probably not going to click on the 10th one. I'm probably going to click on the top one, and I might want more information in that top link. So it's really about understanding the tasks and designing a better page for users to accomplish those tasks.
Okay. Peter, what did you think of Bing?
Well, I did get a chance to take a look at it. Tom's there. I'm still waiting to look at Siri. I signed up for the developers, but I haven't got one yet. So maybe if you have any influence, maybe you can bump me up to the top. But I did get a chance to look at Bing. I like the idea of innovation in user interface. I think that there is a lot of room for that. For a number of reasons. One, I think there has been too much emphasis on just getting the ranking right, and you still got to get the ranking right, but there are many cases where that's not enough, where it's got to be visually appealing, there's got to be a variety of different medias mixed in, and I think they've made some good steps along that direction. I think we need to go farther along that, and I think we have to match that to the media. So right now, I'm usually pretty happy with what the result page looks like, regardless of what engine I'm using when I'm on my big 30-inch screen. But when I'm carrying around my 2-inch screen on my phone, I'm usually disappointed. And as a whole, we're not able to use that screen real estate well. I also wanted to say on the point before about the conversation, is conversation the ultimate interface? I think the more you know what you're doing, the more keyword-like the conversations are. So when we're sitting around talking about machine learning algorithms, and I use a keyword like L1 regularization, everybody knows exactly what that means, and I don't have to explain a whole textbook's worth of background. I use those precise vocabulary. Similarly, in my previous job, I was at NASA. When we're running a mission out of mission control, it's a very controlled type of communication, along with very nice situational awareness. There's multiple channels going on. You're listening to things in the background, but when you're talking, you're using very controlled vocabulary. It's when you don't know what you're talking about that conversation comes into play. And so I think there's a mixture and a whole scale along there that we have to deal with.